Welcome to our third National Reference Group meeting for Pact, which is the meeting which has brought us today this morning. Sorry for the delays. We should be starting. It's a one-day meeting. We should be finishing at around 15 hours. And the first part of the meeting is on some welcome remarks from Dr. Kida, which is going to be followed by official opening. And as you all know, today we are going to launch a report and discuss a report on agro-industrial development policies, what makes us to climate, food security and trade. So we shall be, the first part of the meeting is going to be on some welcome remarks, understanding the context of the meeting, having some wisdom from the guest of honor from the government, and launch of the report. And after launch of the report, we are going to go for a tea break, and then the key presentations and discussions, deliberations in the meeting shall follow thereafter. And therefore, without further ado, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Tausi Kida, our Executive Director at ESRF, to come and give us some official welcome and set the context for the meeting. Dr. Kida, please, you're welcome.
Mr. Leo Layuka, Assistant Director, Market Information and Research from the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, who is here on behalf of Dr. Meru, who is the Permanent Secretary within the same ministry. Dr. Oswald Mashindano, Treasury Registrar from the Ministry of Finance and Planning. Mrs. Neema Manongi, First Secretary, Permanent Mission of United Nations, Republic of Tanzania, to the United Nations missions in Geneva. Members of National Reference Group, all distinguished guests, karibuni sana ESRF. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, Management and staff of Economic and Social Research Foundation, I would like to take this opportunity formally to welcome you, Honorable Guest of Honor, to this National Reference Group of the Pact EAC project, and all you distinguished participants to today's meeting. We at the Economic and Social Research Foundation are excited, and we see that Pact East Africa project is recording an important milestone today. In this regard, I'm extending these welcoming remarks. Allow me to highlight, at least in a nutshell, the background and purpose of Pact project, as well as the objective of today's meeting. The word Pact stands for Promoting Agriculture, Climate Change, and Trade Linkages in East African Countries. This is a regional research and capacity building project implemented among East African countries since February 2012. The overall objective of the Pact EAC project is to help East African countries address food security challenges triggered by climate change through integration of climate change with trade policies, as well as agro-processing processes. So you can see that this project is very important as it brings this important issue of food security by linking with the trade component, aspects of climate change, but most important, the agro-processing component. Whereas we are all aware that our current national plan is focusing on industrialization. So the component of agro-processing is really important when you link it with trade, but also with aspects of food security in the country. As you are aware that climate change is one of the greatest challenges facing East Africa community today, and there are a series of droughts and which also impact on food security. As always, the poor and the most marginalized people are most affected by this. So in this light of the above, the CATS International Geneva, a research NGO and its partners through the region is undertaking the Pact EAC with specific objectives as follows: to increase knowledge of stakeholders on climate change, food security and trade linkages in the region, to increase the capacity of stakeholders to take advantage of possible linkages and develop adequate policies and strategies to deal with negative linkages, to foster coordinated responses, drawing on exchange of experiences and greater interaction among the relevant stakeholders, and finally, to facilitate development and implementation of regional policies and plans by the EAC Secretariat to deal with climate change and food security, including trade. So the first phase of Pact EAC project was launched in February 2012 in Arusha, Tanzania, and this ran for 3 years, from September 2011 to May 2015. At the same time, being CATS International, ESRF and other partners in the region are implementing the second phase of Pact EAC project, which is currently running from October 2015 until September 2019. So implementation approach of Pact EAC is through a network composed of representatives from all relevant stakeholders from the government, the business, the farming communities, CSO, media, and think tanks. In Tanzania, this network is referred as National Reference Group and is coordinated here by ESRF. And the first meeting of the National Reference Group for the Pact project in Tanzania was implemented in May 2012, and the second one was in 2016, in September, and today we are having our third meeting. So the theme of today's meeting is from research to policies, advocacy for climate-aware, trade-driven, and food security enhancing agro-processing in Tanzania. At this national meeting, a research study will also be released on how agro-processing can become more climate-aware, trade-driven, and food security enhancing through more coherent policies. So, the guest of honor, you will also have a moment with you after your key remarks for us to have the opportunity to launch this research project. In addition to the launching and discussion of the contents of this report, during today's meetings, members of the National Reference Group of the Pact EAC project in Tanzania will also start making plans for undertaking advocacy campaign for them to engage with policymakers towards feeding recommendation into policies. So the linkage between research and policy, because the ultimate goal of any research work is to feed into policy. As you may noted in the programs, today's meeting shall also include a discussion on two important areas, namely the role of international trade and climate negotiation in addressing climate change-induced food insecurities in East African countries. Honorable guest of honor, looking at the aforementioned objectives of the Pact EAC project, achievement recorded so far by the project, and objectives of today's meeting, you will agree with me that today's forum promises to be an important event for spearheading this project for the benefit of our country and its people. Before I conclude, I would like once again to express my sincere thanks to you and your ministry for being with us this morning. I know you are very busy, but you have managed to find some time to come and join us in this important meeting. I would also like to sincerely thank you all members of the National Reference Group of Pact EAC project and all participants who have found time also to come for this important meeting. I would also like to record my sincere appreciation to Mrs. Neema Manongi, First Secretary from our mission in Geneva, for coming all the way from Switzerland to attend this. Last but not least, I would also like to extend sincere gratitude to CATS International for its unwavering financial and technical support in the implementation of the Pact project. After these few remarks, I would like once again to welcome you Honorable Guest of Honor, and all distinguished participants in today's third reference group meeting of the Pact EAC project. Asanteni sana na karibuni sana.
Dr. Oswald Mashindano, the Treasury Registrar at the Ministry of Finance Planning, Mrs. Neema Manongi, First Secretary Permanent Commission, United Republic of Tanzania, WTO, Dr. Tausi Kida, Executive Director, ESRF, representative from CATS, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, let me humbly welcome you all at this important event of launching a study titled Agro-Industrial Development Policies, What Nexus to Climate, Food Security and Trade. I take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the ESRF for finding time to host this event. Tanzania's economy depends on the agricultural sector, which provides 30% of the country's exports, 65% of inputs to industrial sector, and employ an appropriate of 66.9% of the entire country's population, although it only contributes around 29% the GDP of the country, which is associated with the high dependence on weather conditions by the majority of the farmers in the country. The weather changes are more likely to worsen, which is a common case not only to Tanzania, but the East African region as a whole. The main cause of being the climate change we are all witness to last year's changes in weather pattern, as rains were not predictable. Ladies and gentlemen, with the changes in the climate conditions, it is expected that the agricultural productivity level will consequently fall, resulting to food insecurity and the absence of tradable agricultural products. These whole concepts builds the essence of promoting linkages between food security, climate, and trade, as to come up with effective policy measures that will prevent Tanzania as a country and its neighbors from facing drought, famine, and hunger in region, but also eventually promoting agro-industrial development. However, there have been several initiatives made by the government to put up several governmental institutions and structures that can be used to execute policies and strategies to mitigate climate changes. Strategies and plans to combat climate change being implemented are making progress in mainstreaming them in a system at a local level and a grassroots level, and the effect will be felt most. In addition, competencies is being developed in adapting to environmental changes. Of most importance is the fact that most stakeholders see the need to adapt and ensure good practice to reverse climate change, reduce the scale of vulnerabilities, and to minimize the intensity of its effect and suffering. As a country, I understand there exists a gap between the national agricultural marketing policy, national industrial policy, and climate change issues, leaving aside an important component like climate change, which has a great impact on agro-processing and trading issues within and without the country, would cost the country very dearly, something that we do not pray to happen. Little attention has usually been paid to the value chain through which agricultural commodities and the products reach the final consumers within the country. This neglect has tended to result in enormous potential losses in the value addition and the employment opportunities. Ensuring the development of a climate resilient agricultural marketing system might be a step towards a sustainable, holistic, and efficient agro-industrial development. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to note that with the launching of this study, the findings revealed in it and the policy recommendations made to the policymakers would have a profound effect on policy changes in the country. It is my belief that this book shall serve as a guiding tool towards future prosperity in the country's agro-industrial development. It is important to recall that Tanzania Development Vision 2025 envisioned as an economy which is transformed from predominantly low productivity agricultural economy to high productivity agriculture as a basis for a diversified and a semi-industrialized economy. This meant adoption of a science and technology and innovations to raise productivity in agriculture with priority to promoting agro-processing and linkages with the other sectors. Based on this premise, the government introduced the 25-year Sustainable Industrial Development Policy of Tanzania, SIDP 2020, and the Integrated Industrial Development Strategy, IIDS 2025. However, with the global climate changes taking place, it is indeed high time to take into consideration climate change as among critical aspects in making sure that a country agro-industrial development efforts are achieved. You should all bear in mind that Tanzania has got the potential in it to continue to be one of the leading food manufacturers in the region, given availability of ample areas in southern, western, and lake zones with low risk and high climate change adaptive capacities. Thus, I implore upon CATS to continue initiating and supporting institutions such as ESRF in conducting such kind of research studies in Tanzania and within the region, as it's thought through research envisaged, evidenced finding that the government will be able to make the right policies for the development of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, with these few remarks, allow me to welcome you all to officially witness the launching of the study titled Agro-Industrial Development Policies, What Nexus to Climate, Food Security, Trade, and Trade. Thank you, and God bless you.
Yeah, thank you, guest of honor, for these words of wisdom. And you have just concluded your remarks. We are going now to request you to take this opportunity to launch the report you've just mentioned. And therefore, maybe if the high table can stand up, and then you can, she's going to provide you with the book so that you can cut the ribbon as a symbol of launching the report. Yes, maybe if you can come down here, with the high table. Dr. Kida, yes.
Today is 17th March 2017. I hereby announce the launching of this report, Agro-Industrial Development Policies, What Nexus to Climate, Food Security, and Trade.
Thank you, Augusta Vanna. Maybe if you can show it for the purpose of getting a wonderful group photo. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have sufficient copies for all of us to get one copy of the report so that we can have it. Yes, some few words from our director.
Yes, the book that we have just launched is titled Agro-Industrial Development Policies, What Nexus to Climate, Food Security, and Trade. And the focus is in our country, Tanzania, and the report was written by Oswald Mashindano, who will be joining us after tea, who is currently the Treasury Registrar here in Tanzania at the Ministry of Finance and Planning, and Mr. Solomon Baregu, if you can join us so that we can have a picture also with you, who is a researcher here at ESRF. I think agro-processing is very important in Tanzania. As we all know, our economy is predominantly agriculture-based, And a majority of our people, almost I can say 70% of the Tanzania are depending on agriculture. So the industrialization that we are promoting, through our second five-year development plan, actually will only be realized if the linkage between agriculture and industry, and mainly through agro-processing, will be realized. So with all these few remarks, I would like to commend the effort that has been done, by producing this important project. Thank you very much.
So let's start. We have 3 presentations with a total of 45 minutes. But I think I can give a favor, not because Dr. Mashino was with me at the university, no. But I simply think that the first presentation should do us a favor and take 20 minutes. The others, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. If, of course, there are high courts and whatever. If they complain, they can as well go to court later. So, I don't know who is presenting. Let's start now with this agro-industrial development policies. What next us to climate, food security, and trade. I think it is an appropriate topic now because of Tanzania, Rwanda, and whatever. So it is much broader, but let's limit ourselves and we can take up and expand it later. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Professor Msamchaka, and I think I should start by saying the example he gave us, what happened at Serena. I think that was a kind message to us that we should switch off your phones. And secondly, as he correctly put it, my name is Oswald Mashindano. I'm the co-author of this publication. Together with Solomon, we did it together. The entire research, plus the final version to publish. We have been working with Solomon in a number of areas. We have done projects together under this umbrella of CATS about 4 times, if I remember well, and all of them have been published. I'm very proud of my co-author Solomon, and this time around, and in the spirit of capacity building of young scholars. And I can assure you this is the spirit of the foundation also, to build capacity of young scholars. And with your permission, I would like to ask you to allow me to invite Solomon to present instead of doing it myself. I've been doing it many, many times. Solomon, karibu.
I think that's a good spirit. It's a good spirit. Nimezungumza mbele za watu so many years. The younger ones also talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Msamchaka, the chairperson, and thank you, Dr. Mashindano, who is the lead researcher at this study. I was the assistant researcher. So thank you. I'm going to make a brief presentation on the publication that has been launched earlier today morning. This study took place last year, around June, where we undertook a survey in 2 regions, that is Morogoro and Pwani, which is coastal, and we chose 2 commodities, which is rice and cassava. The main reasons is we were trying to look at commodities that in one way or another had food security aspect in it, and which also involves women, has the gender dimension in it. So that's why we chose cassava and rice. Of course, many would ask why not maize, but we felt that these are commodities that have not been written on very much. So the outline of the presentation, I'll do a brief introduction, then the methodology. I'll take you through the national policy framework, and then the agro-industrial development nexus. Here is where I will dwell much on what exactly went on. Then the national plans, and we'll conclude and provide brief recommendations. So as we know, these are we know that agriculture contributes about 26, actually now it's about 29%, as the guest of honor gave us the latest figures, and it accounts for about 30% of the country's foreign exchange earnings, and it provides 65% of the industrial inputs. So given the challenges, as we know, it employs majority of the Tanzanians, 70 to 75%. The transformation of agriculture is paramount and inevitable in Tanzania, so as to improve the livelihoods of the majority. But what we say is, among the challenges that face agriculture, as we know, agriculture is predominantly dependent on rain-fed agriculture. So it's mainly undertaken by subsistence farmers who use traditional methods, and these are some of the things we observed. And they also use very low, and then sometimes you can even calling it low technology is like you're upgrading it. It's like the technology is not even there, because what you find they use most of the farmers, even the agro-processors, it's a very outdated kind of technology. For example, the use of fertilizer and improved seeds. Of course, we are now seeing different initiatives being undertaken, but still, majority don't. There's also limited agro-processing, that is poorly developed agricultural-based industries, and therefore unfavorable terms of trade. The vagaries of climate change, that is, climate change poses a very serious risk to the ongoing efforts to transform agriculture. We are all witness what has happened in our country last year. The rains never came, and when they came, they are very short. And when they come, they cause floods, and then they disappear. So it's all because of climate change. And other challenges also include poorly developed infrastructure. For example, the road network. In Dar es Salaam, we've witnessed that. Limited financing, despite the Maputo Declaration that was calling for governments in Sub-Saharan Africa to make sure they have a threshold of 10% allocated in agriculture. Also, issues of market accessibility and quality and standards. So this study focuses on 4 challenges. We'll look at agro-industry, and then we'll try to link it with climate change, food security, and trade. Now, there are strong relationships between these aspects, that is agro-industry, trade, food security, and climate change, which is not acknowledged sufficiently because they are not well known. I think we all know that most of our policy documents have been written in the early 90s, early 2000s, and climate change was not a real issue on the table. But as time has gone, we find this keeps on reoccurring every now and then. And having a policy that clearly articulates and links all these aspects, we tried to review several documents, but we came and realized none. So agro-industry development does not only increase the quality of food products, but also it promotes trade. It also ensures and guarantees demand, for the processed goods, and both at national and international markets. So accessing both markets for primary products and for processed goods. Also, climate change affects agricultural performance. This is something we all know, which leads to low production, low productivity, and hence food, and also results to food insecurity. Prices go high. As we see last year, maize flour was extremely high. And also, now what is the study rationale? We believe there are a long list of spillovers that emanate from the leakages that we are trying to bring to you, that is agro-industry, trade and food security, which are not known, and very little efforts are in place to build on the benefits of mitigating these costs. It is therefore important to understand these spillovers and respond to them, either to build on them or mitigate them, or by way of taking them into account when we design and formulate our policies and national plans. These are the objectives. I'll just take you to one of the main objectives. Others you can follow in the presentation. The main objective was actually to identify and fill knowledge gaps of the agro-industry development related policies, which are also related and sensitive to climate change, food security, and trade linkages. Our methodology, as I briefly explained to you earlier, we focused two subsectors, mainly rice and cassava. The criteria was we were trying to look at commodities which have effect which are vulnerable to climate change, where commodity which has dominance of women or gender perspective in processing, production, or marketing of that commodity. Commodity which has high relevance to food security in terms of direct consumption or boosting income basket, and also marketability of the product outside the border of Tanzania. So those are the four key criteria we are looking at. And as I said, we undertook this survey in Vomero, in Morogoro, and Muranga, which was Pwani. And we did also literature review, and we visited several officials at the district councils, and we undertook focus group discussions, and we administered questionnaires to traders, processors, and consumers. Now, the national policy framework. We believe that there are supportive policies and regulations in place which monitor and which are also monitoring the entire system, and agro-processing and trade. Agro-processing and trade are to feed Tanzania and East Africa in the midst of the vagaries of climate change. So for us to feed the EAC, we believe there needs to be supportive policies, regulations, and monitoring mechanisms. We also believe that for Tanzania and East Africa to improve competitiveness of its agro-industry subsector through trade and food security, conducive policies need to be put in place. So the government, through respective ministries, particularly the Ministry of Industry and Trade, also the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Department of Environment and the Vice President Office, and I believe all of these ministries are here today, have adopted a number of policies, strategies, programs, regulatory frameworks aimed at governing agro-industry, trade, food security, as well as climate change. So our topic today brings together more than 3 ministries who have to communicate together in order to address what we are trying to advocate. So we've also presented several policies that are already in place. So we went through the National Agricultural Policy of 2013, which also we noticed it also discusses, among other things, the different challenges that continue to hinder agriculture, and also value addition, that is agro-processing. We also have the small and medium enterprise development policy. Then there's also the national trade policy. We also have we referred also the national food and nutrition security policy. This is an outdated policy, but we wanted to bring it to your attention that there was also a policy which centered much on agro-industrial development in Tanzania, And also we have the Sustainable Industry Development Policy, which runs up to 2021, of which the guest of honor spoke of earlier today morning. We also wanted to touch on the dairy industry, although this wasn't part of our study, but we believe also dairy being part of agriculture and livestock also has a huge potential in value addition, and there are several regulations also in place, which the government, together with private sector, have embarked in making sure that it protects our local industry in dairy. So, for example, there is the 2012 subsidiary legislation, which intended to regulate imports and exports of milk and milk products. The aim is to enhance capacity of our own indigenous producers. We also have the TFDA Act, the TBS, which regulates the quality and standards, the National Environmental Act. So what do we say? All these policy frameworks are well linked to the national policy frameworks, such as the Kukuta 2, the 5-year development plan, and the Tanzania Development Vision 2025. And also, agro-industry in Tanzania is therefore integrated in a number of national and sectoral policies and regulations. But in terms of policies, regulations, and therefore monitoring framework, Tanzania has made significant progress. There are a lot of policies that are in place. However, the country has not been able to translate these policies and regulations into practice. What is contained in these policy and regulatory frameworks do not really match to what exactly is taking place on the ground. That's the gap that comes out. That is the whole policy implementation failure or challenge. So capacity to administer and enforce implementation of policies and regulations is rather limited. Apart from that, from our study, we tried to ask several farmers if they had any idea of these policies, and we came to realize very few actually know. And actually, even the agro processors are the ones who know the issues of TBS, the TFDA. But if you ask them of what is Kilimo Kwanza or what is national agricultural policies, all these, or maybe what is the industrial development policies, most of them it was rather like a new topic to them. So this is something that we also came to realize. As much as we have all these policies, but not many people out there really know what these policy documents really mean to their daily lives. So do we have supportive policies? Yes, the policies are supportive, judging from the available policy documents, and a very long list of strategies, programs, and regulations. This is perhaps a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. Much as most policies acknowledge the importance of agro-industries, none of them clearly pronounce the linkages between agro-industries, trade, food security, and climate change. The outcome or results of these linkages are not pronounced by these policies, and therefore not known or limited awareness, as the previous graph. And yet, many linkage outcomes are there. The potential spillover benefits are not even pronounced, and efforts to tap and build on them are rather lacking. So efforts to mitigate potential spillover costs results from the linkages are also lacking, despite the growing magnitude. And also risks and uncertainties on agricultural productivity due to changes in climate variability, drought, and floods are posing a serious threat in Tanzania. And this is something that I cannot talk much of because we all witness to this. So when we interviewed some of the respondents on what the most likely impact of climate change, especially to agro-processors, most of them were in agreement that climate change reduces the supply of raw materials. So when, let's say, there's floods or there's drought, agro-processors who need the raw materials from farmers end up receiving less. So this was one very significant impact that was mentioned by the agro-processors. And of course, we're going to have a brief presentation from Mukaya Farm who are from Kuranga, they'll also explain more what impacts do they feel from climate change. Also, the reduction of quality is another impact that was mentioned. The post-harvest losses in Tanzania are very high, especially due to application of very poor technology and the use of manual machines such as chippers, local drying methods, using covers or elevated tables point to the need of investment. So these are some of the low technology we are talking of. We found cassava processors we are using. Where are they? So what we come and ask ourselves is, where are the interventions to support and make such use of opportunities? That is, we find there are people out there who are working hard to at least add value to their produce, but little attention is given to them. So this is a gap, which is partly due to the fact that these are relatively new challenges which call for policy reviews. So those are the technologies we are talking of. We found in Kuranga. So we ask, where are the interventions to support and make use of such opportunities? Agriculture is the principal source of livelihood, as most of us know. That most evidence, including the current study survey, point out that women in Tanzania take charge of weeding, harvesting, processing and storage of less profitable food crops, such as beans, cassava, sweet potato, paddy and millet. But tasks in which men tend to contribute much are such as site clearing and land preparation, or heavy labor tasks like construction of fences and profitable activities such as marketing of high-value food crops and cross-border trade. This is something we found, that you find men are the ones who are involved when it comes to selling of agricultural produce. It's only men who go front and do the bargaining and receive the money, but women are left behind. But women are the ones who will be involved in weeding, which weeding happens almost every now and then, but when it comes for paying, they are not there. So here we try to ask several women in terms of cassava and paddy. So we realize that majority of the women were involved in cassava along the processing chain, but in paddy, very few were involved along the processing chain. And it's very simple, because in cassava you find there are a lot of commodities. You come and see there are a lot of opportunities to produce a lot of commodities compared to paddy. So note that agro-processing development has recently been marked as a priority in Tanzania. Why? Because there is advantage in employment, trade. There are also more opportunity to women, like the dominant player in agriculture. So also, why agro-processing? Is because there is the need to recover the lost rural-based industries that Tanzania lost during the early years of our independence, and also because of the adoption of the 5-year development plan 2, whose theme is nurturing industrialization for human development, which the first session spoke of. So we also make a brief presentation showing what kind of products, for example, paddy can offer. So we find most of the respondents say that white rice is the key product coming from paddy, but also husks. Husk is also a very potential and lucrative product. Hizi ni pumba ambazo wanaenda kuuza kwa watu wafugaji. Yeah. And also there's brown rice. So brown rice is not yet a very common product coming from rice, but it's also an opportunity where investment could be made to increase its production. Why? Because people are now more conscious, health conscious. And also there's rice flour. In terms of cassava has a lot of products. You find there's cassava flour, there are also crisps and chips, which are usually sold in the supermarkets. We also found that there's cake and buns. Others say they also sell cassava leaves, majani ya maboga, majani ya kisamvu. And also there's noodles, the tambi, and other types of products. So Our conclusion is agro-industries have a close association to climate change, trade and food security, that I think we've shown. These linkages have tended to bring about spillover benefits or synergies, as well as spillover costs, which tend to affect the economy and therefore the livelihood of the people. The government, we acknowledge that the government has made significant milestones in terms of formulation and adoption of policies and regulations that are related to agro-industries, climate change, trade and food security. And all of these policies acknowledge the importance of promoting agro-industries, but they are not loud enough in demonstrating and emphasizing the outcome of the linkages between agro-industries, climate change, trade and food security. That is the emerging opportunities. So what do we recommend? We recommend the following things. One, there is a need to go for policy reviews and reflect these new challenges. There is also a need to create awareness on the outcomes of these linkages, like make them known to the public. There's also a need to build on the emerging opportunities or spillover benefits due to the growing linkages. There's also a need to take measures to mitigate spillover costs, like the threats and risks due to the growing linkages. And also there's a need to provide assured market access to agro-processors. Here what we mean is we need to promote direct linkage between food manufacturing factories and farmers. Why? This is because we believe, for example, in terms of cassava, we should find means of even establishing sort of cottage industries, small industries near farmers where initial primary and secondary processing can take place to reduce what we call post-harvest losses and also to reduce impacts of climate change. There's also a need to monitor quality of inputs for agricultural production and outputs, and also improve the service delivery to farmers, that is the extension services. And lastly, sensitization campaign is vital for consumers to buy locally processed products. So lastly, what I presented a picture there. This picture shows us how we can bring industrial development, agro-industrial development to the farmers themselves. What we say is, and what we believe is, if we have to have Tanzania and Rwanda, we should not just focus on big industries. We should start from the rural areas and establishing such types of plants where all products or all commodities that are being produced around, let's say, a certain district are all first processed and then they go to the second processing stage. Asante sana.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would suggest that we have the presentations and later we discuss. So I would suggest we have the presentations and later we discuss. So write down the questions you would like to pose. But alongside those remarks, I would like to, it's a kind of provocation. Ms. Katsirike, I'm doing it for, if it was a person, and Tanzania angekuwa mwanadamu, angekuwa nadhani amebakiza miaka michache tu kuretire. And yet we are discussing this. Nadhani Tanzania itaendelea kwamba it's a more than 55 years na tuna discuss haya. Yeah? Okay, let's get the next one, the next presentation. You have about 10 minutes.
Only 10 minutes?
Yeah. Kwa upendeleo.
I'm going to adapt to that one. Well, thank you very much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy to see so many people have attended and will participate in the impact of this presentation, these presentations, especially the research that has been launched. My name is Jekarongi Nyombe. I'm an economist at the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment at the Department of Industry Development. I'm going to present on the topic of policy development process in relation to agro-industry and trade in Tanzania. Having divided my topic into 3 parts, the first one is I review the policies that have taken place since our history up to date, and the second, I expect to show the performance that has happened in the economic side, and then third, I want to show the direction of where we are going. And this is the framework of policy. So from this slide, you can see that the Tanzania Development Vision it has an ambition of transforming Tanzania into a middle-income economy by 2025. And the National 5-Year Development Plan is under implementation now, has priorities and is crowned by the theme nurturing industrialization for economic transformation and human development. As you are aware, our country implements issues somehow in a unified system. So this theme is not for my ministry. It is for all sectors. It has to be infused into the vessels of all operating organs and in order to be implemented. I think you know the man of what is the message he is conveying. Next. Here, I want to demonstrate the value of moving from agriculture to industries. When you move from agriculture to industries, agriculture tends to provide raw materials for value addition, and the incomes becomes higher, employment increases, and technology gets to be utilized in higher levels and more intensified ways. And then foreign currencies, we earn more foreign currencies, of course, and trade improves and becomes more competitive. This is there are several changes that have taken place in history, and we have prepared a lot of documents, but how are we implementing them? Is it each one implemented separately, or there is somewhere they meet? I illustrate that by starting with the CDP, that is Sustainable Industrial Development Policy, and that was prepared in 1996. It targets to go up to 2020. Then we have IIDS on the right side, Integrated Industrial Development Strategy, Tanzania Vision 2025, Long-Term Perspective Plan, and the second Year 5 Development Plan that we are having now. They all lead to the unifiers to the theme that I have just conveyed. Next. And here we want to explain the value of value chain approach, value chain concept. when we approach production, we should develop the whole value chain so that we get the maximum benefit. Because along the chain, the value is added, we get more benefits, and employment is enjoyed by a number of employees. During the phases of policy transformations, we have gone through three different phases since our independence. Actually, I have divided it into three, but you could divide it into any other way around you wish, depending on how you classify issues. From pre-independence up to 1967, we had a market economy which was characterized by low levels of employment and low industrial performance, and even earlier to that, there was no priority for local development but for export of agricultural produces. 1967 to 1983, that was operation of Arusha Declaration and socialism, characterized by centralized decisions, prices, controls, and nationalization of industries and companies from the private sector. And you can see the differences between the different phases. And from 1980s to date, there have been the liberalization and series of reform measures to full market economy. Next. Now, in 1996, that's when sustainable industrial development policy was prepared. That policy separated the roles between the private sector and the public sector. It is a turning point from socialism concept to free market economy, insisting on the private sector to be responsible for owning of productive entities and managing and running of business. At the same time, the government remained with the role of creating a conducive environment for the businesses to prosper. And maybe, if at all, to remain concerned with the strategic projects such as electricity and power. Next, thank you. The Vision 2025 aiming to transform Tanzania into, I say that, but it is characterized by, at that time, our country population, we expect it shall be peaceful, stable, and with unity, educated and learning society, high standard of living with US dollars not less than 1,045 per capita, because that is the cutoff point for lower middle income countries. Strong and competitive economy means we shall have businesses, industries, and trading companies capable of competing with the foreign products that are being produced from outside. Now we have the mentality among ourselves. People prefer to buy things from outside. Perhaps it is just culture, or perhaps our commodities are not competitive against the outside commodities. Here I am trying to show the performance from independence to date. This is edible oil and import, edible oil export and import from 1961. No, this is GDP growth rate. Neglect that title above. It is the general GDP growth rate of our country. Next. And this is agriculture's the same GDP growth rate tendency at the same time. And agro-industries is a priority at this time of our industrialization strategy. It is insisted in our documents and integrated industrial development strategy, as well as we have prepared specific strategies for certain products, such as sunflower development strategy, leather development strategy, pastils development strategy. It is also well stipulated in the 5-year development plan, which is under operation currently. The conclusion, we say that nurturing into industrialization for human and economic transformation and human development. Let us all capture that motive. If we can forget anything today when we are doing anything, just remember that. Industrialization will also ease agriculture from the burden that it has been carrying all the years. We should not feel proud that agriculture contributes 80%. On the other hand, this is a burden, while the other sectors are carrying nothing. Then Tanzania and Rwanda, agriculture-led industrialization. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Myobe. As if I told you before, because it's exactly 10 minutes. Yeah. Thank you. The third one, Mr. Chumo. Okay.
Yes, good morning. My name is Ibrahim Chumo. I'm from Kaya Farm. You can see the caption there. It's good. It is that good. We produce high quality cassava flour and cassava grits. That's what we're specializing at the moment. My presentation is very short. I've tried to keep this as simple as possible. So, yeah. Okay. The full name of the company is called Kaya Farm. It was established in 2010 as a sole proprietor. It's a family business. This year we plan to shift to a limited company because we plan to expand the business to be more commercial, but obviously that has its challenges that you'll see in the coming slides. It's located in Kenge, Mkuranga district, 80 kilometers from the city center, Dar es Salaam. We currently have 400 acres of land, but only 70 acres have been utilized. We have challenges which I'll mention the reason why we've not utilized all the land. But we plan to increase to 200 acres by the end of the year, 2017. That's growing cassava. We currently employ 12 full-time workers, which are all based at the farm. We have temporary workers, but they're only utilized when we have orders for cassava flour or grits. Okay, our workers have been trained by IATA. Before opening of our factory, IATA came to us and obviously they gave us training on the best practices of how to grow cassava and how to produce high quality cassava flour. We have the only flash dryer in Tanzania, capable of drying 8 tons of grits per day. Flash dryer gives you the opportunity, gives you an added advantage because it means you can dry your cassava during the wet season, as opposed to sun drying, which is just limited to the sun. We've been approved by TFDA. Of course, we produce both wholesale and retail production. And we have a network of over 200 local farmers around the Mkuranga area. No, oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, we really our employees, we're very stringent when it comes to employing our employees, because our values are basically honesty, integrity, and hard work. We're trying to set up a sort of utopia in our farm, in our factory. We want to show what hard work and honesty and integrity can produce. Yeah? Our mission is to produce high quality cassava flour and related cassava products and to sell to local and regional markets. And our vision is to be the best producer of cassava products in East Africa. Our objectives: to produce high quality cassava flour and related cassava products for human, animal consumption and for industrial use. At the moment, as I mentioned before, we're just focusing on human and industrial use. Industrial use, basically, as you may know, cassava is not just about, it can be used also for industrialization. For example, matchsticks, the production of matchsticks need cassava, and so forth and so forth. So cassava is just not for eating, it can also be for industrialization and so forth. Our objectives: to produce high quality cassava flour and related products for human, okay, I said that before, I said it again. To offer high quality services including timely execution of orders and consistency in quality. We have competitors, but for us, what we pride ourselves is consistency in quality. Okay, we don't, and this is something that we've taken great effort in implementing in our company, to say that, okay, we have to make sure our quality of flour is top quality. Hamna mchanga. If there's mchanga, we have to pay. Somebody has to pay. That's the script. Anything else can be forgiven, but mchanga and obviously and other issues with the flour is a big no-no in our company. Of course, also this is the major one: is to create employment and improve the economic landscape in the surrounding area of the farm. Okay, these are the stages. Of course, I'm not going into great detail because time, but I'll take you very quickly. These are the stages of producing flour and grits. Obviously, we bring the cassava, the raw cassava, to the farm, to the factory, and then you peel it. We have these peelers are temporary workers. We usually use around 15 to 20 temporary workers. We pay them as per kilograms that has been peeled. They peel them and weigh them, and then we pay the money. And then we have washing. The washing is done by our permanent staff. As I mentioned before, we have 8 staff on this, doing this process going forward. After washing, we have a big basin that we've constructed there, and we also have endless supply of water. We have a big well in the farm. And then there's a process of grating, where you grate. After washing, you grate the cassava. Are you guys aware of this process? Yeah, okay, that's okay. Okay, and then after grating, you press the cassava to take out all the water and the cyanide. Because obviously we want to get rid of the cyanide, because cassava sometimes it can be dangerous to human health. So we drain the cyanide out of the cassava. And then after pressing, we press it for overnight. We finished, we press it overnight. The next morning, we break the cake. Basically, we take it back to the grating machine, we break the cake. After breaking the cake, we sort out particles. Yeah, sort out particles, the impurities, we take them out. After that, there's 2 ways of doing it. We dry, but we can use sun drying or flash dry. But currently we're using sun drying because of the challenges I'll come and tell you in the coming slides. And then there's milling, and then of course this means a happy customer. As you can see there, there's pictures of temporary staff peeling the cassava. Then we have a snapshot of our sun drying facilities. And that gentleman there is grating. He's grating the cassava, and obviously that's the white cassava. And this is how it looks like in the supermarkets that we are selling to. These are monthly sales from November last year to February. These are, the left-hand side is kilograms. So as you can see, we have orders, and unfortunately we have more orders than we can produce at the moment because of, yet again, I'll tell you the challenges we're facing. But as you can see, we have good orders, but we can produce more. Now, this is where it gets interesting. As you can see, there's a big weakness there, no electricity. It's bold, so everybody can see, because we've been talking about this for the last 4 years, 5 years, but it's always tomorrow, next month. Mtu anasainisha, sijui mtu kasafiri. This is the feedback what we're saying. People are telling us. Of course, I'm not going to name names, but it's very frustrating because we have the capacity to produce 8 tons per day using a flash dryer. The only one of its kind in Tanzania. But we don't have electricity. You see? So what we do, we use mafuta, generator. And obviously that's not sustainable because even the generator itself, it cannot produce, it cannot work over time. It has its time limit. You see? So that's the thing. Our farm, I think you've already been there, it's just on the road, main road. They just conveniently or inconveniently skipped us. There's no transformer, they skipped to the next village. So you ask yourself, is this on purpose? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, it's benefiting the people, the Tanzanian people. Not just us as a family or us as an organization, but it's the people, because you have the farmers, we buy cassava from the farmers, they're getting income. TRA gets money from the sales of cassava flour. The government gets money from electricity, supply of electricity. The local people have money, they can send their kids to school, but it's a challenge. Okay, let me skip strengths. Strengths, we have a large farm, obviously 400 acres. We have abundant water supply. We have a good reputation for producing high quality cassava. Opportunities, high demand for cassava flour in Sub-Sahara. For example, in Congo and Rwanda as well. We've been talking to people in Rwanda how we can export, because we want to obviously gain foreign exchange. The demand for we've also exported to Middle East, Oman, with the middleman that we've been working with. Demand for cassava flour is also increasing in Tanzania. Tanzania production is 5.4 metric tons, the 6th largest in Africa. Again, there's no electricity and limited cash flow. Those are the biggest challenges. Obviously, we have our own internal, but for the sake of this room, those are the threats. Obviously, big foreign companies monopolizing cassava growing in Tanzania. We've done our investigation, our research. We've seen that there's apparently some Chinese coming to this country who are going to buy a lot of cassava. Now, the government has to be very careful how to protect people like us and the local farmers and the local companies. Because obviously, if they take the cassava, it means we have no business. Low cost of cassava flour, producers selling 600 and 700 kilogram. Ours is very high-end cassava. The type that you see in the supermarket selling for 3,000 shillings. Yeah? We don't compete with the low-end, these low-cost flour producers, but there can be a threat, because obviously now, with the economic situation at the moment in Tanzania, money supply is very limited and people have very tight budgets. So they can say, okay, let me go for this cheaper option. Although I can guarantee you it's not as good as ours. Lack of rains, climate change, as my friend just mentioned before in the presentation. Yeah. Now, these are the challenges in pictures. This is a waste. The waste that we had to disregard because of waste. Basically what happened was we had overproduced, the generator collapsed, and of course there's no power. So what that meant is, as you know, cassava, if you peel cassava, yeah, you have to grate it there and then. Or else you have another option of putting on the water. Yeah? So it doesn't change, it doesn't fumigate. But it stayed in the water for 3 days because the generator, as you can see, the generator's not working. There's no power, the generator's not working. So we we got rid of this flour, this cassava. It was 1 ton worth of cassava, raw cassava. And obviously on the right there is partially the result of drought and also overstay of the cassava in the farm. It's overstayed because obviously we couldn't produce because power is the issue. And that's it. Any questions? Questions are later.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we now have a session for discussion. I would request Solomon, Ibrahim. All of you calling my first name, right?
Yes.
So, if you can come and sit here in a Parais Kidogo for the audience. If you can sit near the chairman. Karibu, Ibrahim. So, we have, I presume, enough time for discussion. The first presenter is there, Solomon, and then Gavarone, Papa, and Ibrahim. So, you are allowed to pose your questions. I know. Solomon covered a number of issues, but I leave it to you to choose where you want to ask the questions. I'll also be telling my deck, just in case there are some people behind who like to ask questions. And if I forget you, just remind me. So, it could be questions or comments, observations, or some contributions. But I think this is the, yes, so would like to make additions. Some you might have some things to say. The question. Okay. But I want to say that this is, I think, a topic which I don't know how you can do it, Dr. Kida, because it's so, now, when we are talking about Tanzania Rwanda, it's so important that we need to have more of this discussion. And I think they say, and I think in the paper they mention, that to have sustainable agriculture or to develop agriculture without agro-processing, we will be the first ones if we do that in the world. Tutakuwa ndio si wa kwanza kwamba tumeiendeleza kilimo without agro-processing. It's simply not possible. Now, so this is the reminder, although these people have just covered the rice and the cassava, it is a reminder. And what the Baronge and the Ibrahim have said is to assist us in to broaden our understanding, and that is possible. So I said we are now 57 years. In 3 years' time we should be retiring. And we are talking now about the agro processing. Question.
much, Chairperson. I have a very small question to Gevaronge and Ibrahim. Gevaronge, in your slide number 3, I think, if I remember well, there is a chart which shows it's like, you know, you are displaying the policy, the priority policies or policy frameworks. But I was wondering why you decided to put this Sustainable Industrial Development Plan at the top, and then the Integrated Industrial Development Strategy something. Then you have this National Policy Framework below, because to me that's showing that you know, the umbrella framework is the one which is on the top. Maybe you had your own purpose, but I just wanted to know, because the 5-year development plan, the National Vision 2025, and all of them come after that. And then Ibrahim, you have mentioned a number of challenges you are facing, like maybe I should start by commending the initiatives by Ibrahim and his family. I think that is one of the things which, you know, our government is encouraging. But he has mentioned a number of challenges, like the power cuts. You have been mentioning. I realized at the end that you know, there was overproduction, kind of. But he said it was because of the generator, the collapse of the generator. I also noticed that the supply is lagging behind the existing demand. In other words, there is a huge potential demand around there, but the supply is very limited. And I also noticed that you are underutilizing land, actually, which you have, because you are using very small proportion of the land you are owning. So my question was, which mechanism are you using to talk to the government? I mean, because we have this governance framework, or institutional framework, if you like, are you channeling your agenda through the local government? Do you talk to the local government in Mkuranga? You know, because that's the official way towards the top levels and so on. I just want to know how you link your program or project with the government. Thank you.
Yes, you write them down.
Yes, I have 2 questions. One is for the policy group. This is for Dr. Mashindano and Solomon Karibu. What we see that the ultimate goal, I can say, of any development is for the people. So we are making all these efforts. At the end of the day, is for the welfare of their people to be better than before. So when you look at this publication, as I've said before, you can see that there are many aspects of different policies which all of them are targeting to ensure that we attain food security in the country. And the nexus here is through trade policies, industrial policies, through agro-processing, which of course we have to have the production, through agriculture policies, and then the whole aspects of environmental policy through climate change. In your opinion, when you were doing the survey, there is a lot of pinches or drawbacks, especially in the policy coherence. You know, when we develop our policies, we develop them sort of in isolation. We have the industrial policies here, we have the agriculture policy here, and we're talking about what is your comment about the whole process of having a policy coherent framework, whereas all policies should talk the same language to have a certain goal be achieved? Otherwise, you operate your policies inside of this time. So I would like like to hear your reflections on that. And then for Ibrahim, also my main concern when I went through your paper is you have the land, which is 400 acres. You started your business in 2010. I have to commend, for the effort that the family has done to have this in place. And when you look at the opportunities, it seems that from the demand side, market is not the problem. You have sort of a limited market. But when I looked at, sort of my question is more or less linked to what Dr. Mashidana had already said. But when I looked at your weaknesses, it's the main concern that you have is mainly electricity and cash. So, this is very important as we have a big problem now in Tanzania. We import most of our food stuff, including even chicken from abroad. We have maize and all that. Still, we are importing now tilapia even from China. We hear about that. So my main concern, because now we'll hear from you, because you are coming from the ground, what is the problem? If the market is there, the land is there, you are not located very far from Dar es Salaam to the big city. We are now 6 million people and in the nearby suburbs like Kibai and all that. So what exactly is the problem that we are failing to put the two together for you to be able to utilize the whole market which is available? Thank you.
Let me finish this side.
Mine is pointed to Dr. Mashindano and Baregu. In their study, if I'm not mistaken, I think they pointed something about the weak linkages between the three sectors.
Your name?
Master Madobi from K International Tanzania. So you mentioned something about weak linkages between two sectors that we have pointed out. And of course, I believe even also the issue of coordination, the intercoordination between sectors might also be missing. But I'm wondering if you have pointed out the recommendation on how perhaps the linkages could be strengthened among different sectors and with proper coordination to ensure that we all talk the common language, we all putting our efforts to achieve what we really want to achieve. Because it's like this has been the common song, to say there's no linkage, there's no strong linkage. So it is an ending song. From your research then, of course, what mechanism, what strategies do you think can really lead to strengthening of the linkages between several different sectors? Thank you.
Let me finish this side so that yes, pass on.
Mine is not a question, it's just an advice.
I know your name, but it is probably
Kasim Mbofu from Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. Yeah. Mine is just an advice to the Okaya farm. To me, I would say this is a unique project, particularly in the area whereby this project is being placed. They have said that they have been using fuel energy. Taking into consideration that it's very difficult for at the time being to get electricity from TANESCO, I may advise them to look for other alternatives, in particular sun energy. I think sun energy to them will be better off comparing to other energies.
Hello, my name is Richard Kundi, working with the Ministry of Information. I have a small question to this presenter, Okaya. There's this issue of SWOT analysis is discussing about having abundant water supply. At the same time, under the threats, is discussing about the lack of rain. Can he clarify this? You have abundant water supply, yet you are crying there's lack of rain. What do we need?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mary Kuel. I am a retired economist. I want to comment on the first presentation on policies. What I can see on policies here in Tanzania, the main problem is lack of resources. Because when you have policies which are not backed by resources, then it means you cannot implement what you have planned. And my second comment is on the issue of agro-processing. We are now embarking on agro-processing, but as I said, I don't want to be the devil's advocate, but when we are competing with multinationals, when we want to export to the world market, then we have to be very selective. For example, if you consider something like coffee, what the metropole wants from us are the beans so that they can process them in their industries, get jobs, and then sell the product everywhere they want. So, when we want to say process our coffee, we have to be extra, we have to use extra effort so that we can break this kind of vicious cycle. So, my other point is that I want to congratulate this Ukaya Farm because they are on the right footing. And what I want to say is that the government should support this kind of institution. For example, with the infant policy protection theory, where the government has to protect this kind of initiative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So let me, last one.
I'm the researcher. My name is Mother Swamila. First, I want to congratulate all the presenters for the nice presentations. And I have questions for the first presenter. Question number one. In your presentation, you mentioned gender as one of the criteria which was used to select crops. And I know that gender goes beyond women. I mean, there's women, men, and youth. So besides data on women participation in agro-industry activities, did you establish the proportion of women, men, and youth who are involved in activities along the value chain of the crops which you are researched on, cassava and rice. And you also presented that there is low crop productivity. I just want to know how low is low. Do you have data to support that? And also you mentioned that there is low adoption, low use of inputs. Do you have data to support that also? Thank you.
So let's move that side. Sorry.
I have some comments on the Ukaya family. You mentioned about certification by TBA. I haven't seen you explain about the TBS because TBS are the ones who provide the standards. So I don't know how about that. And number two is you mentioned about production losses. I'm wondering how do you manage your production processes? Because once you take the cassava from the farm ready for processing, then you may have the plan for your production, which will go in line with the expected unforeseen events like a power cut due to generator. But on the issue of power, you are at Mkuranga, and I'm aware that Mkuranga there is a pipeline for natural gas. How do you see such opportunity of transforming your production processes instead of using electricity by generator, then you transform using natural gas as a source of energy for your production? That will require some research about that.
So let's say move this side. from but it's not the end of it. Yeah.
You okay, Professor?
Let's
thank you, Professor Bichaka and presenters of the three presenters that they've presented very well in terms of the status of agro processing for the rice and for the cassava, and the one from the Ministry of Trade and the other one from Kaya. I have, these are some comments on the paper that Barry was presented and Dr. Mashindano, especially on the byproducts of rice and cassava. From the statistics, at least from the FAO statistics. Oh, sorry. My name is Vivian Kazi. I'm here working with ESRF as a head of Commission Research Department. Thank you. So I have a comment on the byproducts of, because from the recommendations that you provided, I saw it was somehow missing on the capacity building and maybe awareness on the use of the byproducts of products like the rice, because from maybe we can learn as a country from other countries which are the top producers of rice. There are varieties of byproducts of rice. For instance, there is rice bran oil, which is rice bran oil, which we are not producing here in Tanzania, but we have a good production of rice. So we can use it as one of the byproducts in the agro-processing processes, so that we can also export, or we can also use it internally as one of the byproducts of cassava, the oil. Because one of the benefits of that, it reduces it lowers the blood cholesterol. And on the cassava, the byproducts, we can see there are a lot of byproducts of cassava, but I cannot see it as it is mainly used here in Tanzania, maybe for the export. It's mainly for domestic use. So maybe we can venture that to maybe to do some public awareness and to capacitate the women who are involved, because from the statistics, at least from these findings, you can see most of the women are involved in the byproducts of cassava rather than rice. So we can also train them on how they can do the regional trade of the byproducts of cassava, like crips and other byproducts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Devota. I'm from Vigoba. I wanted to have some few comments and questions. Moja, nilitaka kuongelea kuhusu ili tatizo la linkage model, kwamba wote tunalalamika hapa, sera zipo, watu wapo, mahali papo, lakini process ile kutoka juu mpaka chini, kutoka chini mpaka juu, hapo tunashindwa. Na wengi hapa tunafahamu habari ya 4 P's: policy, people, place and process. Sasa tuanze kuangalia hapo, sisi tuna vingapi? Ndio mtaji wetu. Policy zipo, na wauliza zipo. People wapo? Wapo, kina Msambichaka, si ndio kina Mashindano. Haya, tunaenda kwenye pia 3. Place ipo, Tanzania yenyewe ipo, na maeka 400 yapo. Hii process ndio ninatamani leo wachumi wetu, marisecha wetu, mtusaidie. Ndio kinachotuua nchi hii. Kuna process gani? Nimefurahi kweli kumuona Dr. Mashindano anauliza swali. Lakini mimi nilifikiria Dr. kweli kabisa atutendee haki. Yeye yuko serikali kuu sasa. Atueleze ni process gani inatakiwa itumike kwa huyu ukaya. Afanye nini? Yaani ukiona mtu anakuja kulalamika hadharani jua ameshachoka mbaya. Kuishi na akili yake yote. Hawezi mtu kulalamika kama vitu anavijua, maana yake havijui. Sasa wapo wanaovijua. Mimi naamini humu ndani wapo wanaovijua. Dr. Mashindano, tusaidie. Tusaidie, hiyo process ikoje? Nimehappen kuhudhuria vikao vingi sana. Issue ni hii, na leo nafurahi hapa. Kwanza mmealika ministry nyingi sana, lakini mmeiacha ministry muhimu kabisa ya Gender and Development Community. Haiko hapa. Na baba yangu Baregu anasema uhamasishaji. Utafanya we baba? Afisa maendeleo umemwita hapa? Kama hujamwita, kafanye wewe. Kwa hiyo jamani, kuna minutes ambazo ni za muhimu sana. Leo mimi hapa naona minutes zote muhimu zipo. TAMISEMI siyo. TAMISEMI kama yupo, atusaidie. Kwa sababu inasemekana kwamba inaonekana hizi sector ministry hazitaki kukasimu madaraka yake kwa TAMISEMI. Na kama zinakataa kukasimu madaraka kwa TAMISEMI, serikali mfumo wetu mtendaji ni TAMISEMI. Sasa mtu wa energy kwenye local government TAMISEMI hayuko. Hayuko mtu wa umeme. Huyu ukaya aende wapi? Aende wapi ukaya? Kwa hiyo hata kama ataenda pale ofisi ya halmashauri au hata hiyo ya kijiji chake au ya kata yake, atamkuta nani pale anajua mambo ya umeme. Kwa hiyo hizi sector ministries lazima zikasimu. Mimi nashukuru kama hawa REA sasa hivi wameanza sasa kutambua TAMISEMI, ndio wanaenda nao. Na utaangalia sekta zile tu zilizotambua TAMISEMI ndio zinapamba moto. Muangalie sekta ya elimu, imekasimu karibu kila kitu kwenye local government, na mambo yanaenda. Hata kama tunasuasua, lakini angalau tunaweza kuziona hizo shule za kata. Unaweza kuionyesha ile sekta ya elimu ya afya nayo imejitahidi, lakini bado kuna changamoto ziko. Kwa hiyo mimi nilichokuwa nasema jamani, hii TAMISEMI kama kweli inatakiwa ipewe madaraka, ipewe ili waweze kwenda kutekeleza. Halafu vile vile tuangalie kuna kitu hiki kinaitwa service delivery. Kwenye kila ministry, hichi kitu ni kitu gani? Katika utafiti wenu baba yangu Barego, tuambieni hichi kitu ni kitu gani service delivery? Na quality ya service na standard ya service kutoka serikalini, nani anaifanya? Ndio tukifanya hivyo sasa tunaweza tukauliza. Kwa hiyo mimi naomba sana hii linkage model, hata kama mzee Msanteka anasema tumechelewa, mimi naona bado tutastaafu huko tumefanya. Waanze leo maresearcher wetu watutengenezee hiyo linkage model na process ya maendeleo kutoka chini kwenda juu na kutoka juu kwenda chini, ili watuambie sisi tuifuate. Nina swali moja kwa ukaya. Kulikuwa na shirika linaitwa VECO. Lilishiriki sana katika shamba la ukaya. Ninataka kujua ushiriki wake ulikuwa ni kitu gani? VECO. Kwa hiyo zaidi ya hapo, mimi ninaomba tu leo tumetoa hichi kitendawili hichi ili tusonge mbele. Kwa sababu presentation kama ya ukaya, mbona ameshatoboa? Ameshatoboa. Na sio ukaya peke yake. Mimi nimekaa na wanawake wengi. Mwanamke mmoja ana process vyakula. Anaitwa Alaska. Ameanza kiwanda Bagamoyo. Mimi mwenyewe nimeshuhudia na nimemsupport. Nenda mpaka kwa waziri kaombe umeme. Hakuna umeme pale. Amezungushwa juzi kaambiwa alipe milioni 24. Kapewa jibu kama hiyo. Sasa mimi nikamwambia anarudi tena kwangu. Nikamwambia ni kwa kweli hivi vitu mimi akili yangu sasa hapo kuishi basi acha kiwanda chenyewe. Kwa hiyo asante.
Okay, thank you. Sasa, maanake lunch lazima mpate. You must have your lunch. Maanake ndio ilivyo. Your breakfast I presume you had, ambayo mlikula kama king. Na lunch lazima mpate. Unless you are fasting. Kwa hiyo hebu tuchukue labda wanne, lakini mimi nataka ni practice hapa yenda, yaani wakina mama wawili na wakina baba wawili. Okay? Kama hiyo ni agree, tungemaliza hapa mbele kwanza, halafu utafaka wewe.
Professor Samachaka, na colleagues who have presented very well their presentations. Mimi na swali moja tu kwa Dr. Masindano na Solomon. We have a challenge na issue of farmers' compensation in terms of we don't have any insurance company that is covering an insurance package for farmers. Na research yenu imejikita sana kwenye climate change impact. I see in the long run, maybe even in the short run, tunaweza tuka end up na wakulima ambao wamejitahidi kulima, kukatokea msimu mbaya, na labda eka 400 zote za ukaya asivune. How do we compensate these farmers? Is there any recommendations that you can provide to the government in terms of how do we go about to establish an insurance company or a package that will cater for farmers' compensation? I see this as a missing link in your research recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Professor Samachaka. My name is Gerson Timber from the Prime Minister's Office in the Department of Private Sector Development and Economic Empowerment. I have two questions. One is on the first presentation by Solomon Barreiro. You told us when you started presenting that you considered gender in your survey or kind of research. But of course, on your findings page 6, the top left slide, you told us that most evidence, including the current survey, women in Tanzania, child weeding, harvesting, processing, and storage of less profitable crops. Yeah. And for men, tend to contribute more in good site clearing and land preparation and heavy labor, tasks, blah blah. I just wanted to know whether you have any policy recommendation on that. Of course, this is in connection to what Madame from SUA, a researcher, was pointing out. I was reading through your book and the slides here on the recommendations. I don't see any policy recommendation on that, on gender. Another question is on the issue of access to finance, especially for Tanzanian businesses in SMEs. This is going direct to Mr. Ukaya, Mr. Ibrahim. Yes. Of course, on your challenges, you pointed out some challenges, but I didn't see any issue on access to finance. Is it a problem to you, to your business, or what? Because this has been a challenge to most of Tanzanian ventures. And if it is a challenge, how far have you gone in mitigating this problem and solving it? Thank you very much.
Adesanya? Yes, madam.
Thank you. I'm Edna Ogano from ANSAF. I have two questions and one recommendation. My question is to the Minister of Industry and Trade. You listed the number of strategies and the policies, and even the study conducted by when Dr. Mashindano showed the same. My question is, what is the problem now? If we have these policies in place, but we are not seeing anything happening, there is no change. It seems the issue of industry was there since those past years, and you have listed a number of questions, but what we are seeing is like we have more the slogans than what we are expecting to see. The other is just addition on that is the question to Solomon. You mentioned that the policies we have, the strategy we have, most of them were developed in past years, so they didn't accommodate the climate change issues. What is your recommendation on that? And the other is the recommendation, the Minister of Trade and the other ministers which are here. When we are talking about the Viwanda, today I think we need to first define what type of industry do we need. Are we talking about the industry, the bigger ones, like when we are mentioning about the Matex and the other things? Or we even accommodate the small ones? Where is the law of SIDO? Where is the place of SIDO? Where is the place of VETA in these processes? And the other thing is, what is the move which you want to go? Especially of putting the zones in the country. My worry is we might end up like it was in the past years, where we have the Tanganyika Packers in Dar es Salaam, while most of the kettles are kept in Shinyanga, in Arusha and the other places. And the other thing is the advice to Kaya, if you are thinking about processing or producing other products from the cassava, like producing the animal feed, where there is a plenty of market. Thank you, that is all.
Let's finish with that and then we'll move on to the
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Kilele from Tanzania Agricultural Development Bank. Mimi na issues mbili, moja kwa Ibrahim wa Kaya na nyingine kwa Solomon na Dr. Barry. Tukianza na Ibrahim, you said kwamba una network ya over 200 local farmers. So I'm interested kujua this nature relationship yenu na farmers. Moja, wako organized people, wako kwenye registered groups, au wana operate kama individuals tu kwenye small pieces of land. Mbili, nataka kujua kama kwa sababu nyie ni off-takers, kama mna legally enforceable contracts, especially kwenye bei, na kama experience yenu inaonyeshaje. Najua hii is a little tricky to you, lakini I expect unaweza kuwa honest. Na kitu cha mwisho ni nataka kujua mna finance vipi production kwenye shamba lenu, na pia wakulima wadogo wadogo ambao wanazunguka wana finance vipi production. Je, mnapata mikopo kutoka kwenye financial institutions au mnatumia capital yenu, au kama kukaa yenyewe as a company na finance production ya wakulima wadogo wadogo? Kuhusu main paper, Mr. Solomon na Dr. Barry, hapa mnaongelea issue muhimu sana ya crop insurance kama missing link katika the whole entire chain of agricultural production. Sasa kitu kimoja ni key information kuhusu hali ya hewa. na nafikiri kwenye hili Tanzania Meteorological Agency TMA ni key stakeholder, lakini nimehudhuria conferences nyingi, seminars nyingi. Bahati mbaya nafasi yao kusema kweli haijawa recognized kiasi inachotakiwa. Kwa hiyo maybe kama paper bado inaweza kuwa improved, tunaweza tukajaribu ku-incorporate recommendation aina hiyo. Asante.
Thank you. Last one. Kwa sababu umekaa karibu hapo, naweza kupendelea. This is the open upendeleo, kwa hiyo hamna corruption. Please.
Swali langu linaenda kwa Ukaya Farm. Nilikuwa nataka nijue ni changamoto ipi hasa kwenye upande wa umeme, kwamba umeme Mkuranga haupo au umeme upo lakini gharama za kuweka labda transformer ya kupeleka umeme hapo kiwandani ni kubwa. Lakini pia nilikuwa nataka nijue kama watu wa Ukaya wanafanya kazi kwa kushirikiana na watu wa halmashauri, kwa sababu kama nilivyosema mwenzangu sasa hivi leo wamefungua, nadhani nakuwa wameshafungua huo mradi wao wa 3 wa kusambaza umeme vijijini, na wanafanya kazi kwa kushirikiana na TAMISEMI ambao halmashauri wako huko. Kwa hiyo nilikuwa nataka nijue, je, wanashirikiana? Na kama wanashirikiana vipi? Na nadhani sasa ni wakati mwafaka wa nyie sasa kwenda halmashauri na kupeleka hiyo issue yenu ili kwenye hii phase 3 hii wanaoifanya watu wa REA waweze kuwa consider.
Asante sana. Mimi naitwa Hilda, ni mtafiti, lakini kwa sasa nafanya zaidi kazi za research coordination kutokana na ofisi ambayo naifanya. Swala langu ni kwamba tumezungumzia sana policies ambayo inaonekana clearly kwamba kuna gaps in terms of policies which don't talk to each other. Na alisema dada yangu pale ambaye ameongea kwa ukweli na kwa hisia kabisa, na of course ilianza kwa Dr. Tausi alivyolizungumzia pia kwamba matatizo ya sera au policies Tanzania we are very rich to the extent kwamba kuna wengine ambao wameanza kututania sasa kwamba wanafika hapa wanaangalia sera zetu alafu wanachukua wanaenda kuimplement kwao, wanafanikiwa, sisi tunabaki na vipande vya sera tulivyoviweka mezani alafu watavifanyia kazi sana ambavyo bado tunaweza tukaviweka pamoja tukapata picha nzuri zaidi. Sasa kuna challenge kwamba kwa upande wa watu wa sera kwamba kuna hilo swala la harmonize policies, lakini labda kwa upande wa researchers tunazungumzia sana policy mapping. Policy mapping has been a very common language kwenye research, but maybe we start with the process mapping kwa sababu processes, that's where we are mapping, because even the policies are products of processes. Maybe even the policies, the way they are developed, the content, what goes into the policy content is a result of processes which are maybe somewhere erroneous to the extent that they avoid or they overlook some stakeholders who should have been involved from the onset of the policies. Or perhaps the issue is these policies are reactive to certain circumstances, global or regional or local, whatever. So the policies are quickly to rush to solve specific problem or to address issues, specific issues, and as a result, they don't look into the bigger context to answer broader questions which might benefit from developing of the specific policies. So I think even to the researchers now, it's not a new thing, but let's look at the processes. And also the policymakers, let's look at the processes. What processes do lead to these policies? And the policies are very good. Some of them are very good. They could have some gaps, but very, very good policies. But are they implemented? Or they are developed and left somewhere, and then the circumstances imepita zile ile kelele ilikuwa inapigiwa wakati ule ilikuwa inazungumziwa imeshakuwa off the attention, tunafocus kwenye jambo lingine. So sometimes even these policies, as much as they could be, are they implemented? To what extent? Kwa
sababu huwezi kuevaluate kitu kama hakijawa fully implemented. Kwa hiyo tuangalie zaidi hii michakato ya utengenezaji wa sera, michakato ya kuimplement na mambo kama hayo. Labda itatuletea solution ya kwamba sasa, kwa mfano walikuwa wanazungumzia mama hapo kwamba baadhi ya wadau hapa hawapo. Kweli labda hawapo kwa sababu ambazo ni practical au kwa sababu hawakukumbukwa kwenye mchakato mzima. Sio kwamba labda wameonekana sio muhimu au kitu kama hicho. Kwa hiyo tukiweza kuangalia na itatusaidia kutengeneza michakato hiyo ya kuboresha sera. Kitu kingine, kuna wadau wengi sana also related to policies. Kwa mfano kuna mtu wa biashara na viwanda hapa. Kuna kitu kinaitwa wasaa. Kama kuna mwanamama yote ameshasikia wasaa, naomba anyoshe mkono. Wasaa, Women in Sub-Saharan Africa, Agro Processing in Sub-Saharan Africa. Mimi am part of that, lakini I'm not, ni member lakini wa very ordinary member, na nilisikia tu juu kwa juu, nikawa invited, nikashiriki. Lakini mtu wa biashara na viwanda akamuulize waziri wake, kwa sababu ndio alikuja kulaunch wasaa only 2 months ago. It's a very big issue na inataka strengthen agro processing kwa wanawake Tanzania ambao watakuwa na access to credit, kutakuwa I can't say much, lakini iko chini ya waziri wa viwanda, na hiyo hasa ina structure yake, ina president, very high profile president of WASA, kuna chair wa WASA, very high profile women, na wanakutana, we meet at least once a month or so. Na WASA, they do travel, go out to other countries and to global meetings. Kwa hiyo kuna vitu kama hiyo, unaona hiyo ni lengo la ina lengo la strengthen women in agro processing. Na kuna wanawake, kwa mfano siku hiyo ya launching, kuna wanawake ambao walikuja, wanawake wafanya biashara. Jamani, nchi hii kuna wanawake wafanya biashara. Labda wengine hatujui kwa sababu ya not tuko hivyo, lakini kuna tayari imeshaanza kukusanya watu, na kuna wengine wanaochipukia, wanaouza nyanya, vitunguu, nao ni members wa WASA vile vile. Kwa hiyo kuna michakato mingi sana, ndio hizo nasema processes nyingi zinaendelea even within the same ministries or different ministries. Hiyo michakato ndio inahitaji mapping, iletwe mtu aseme kwamba kuna hiki, kuna kile, alafu iwekwe pamoja iseme jamani, kwa nini hiki na kisingekuwa kinakwenda na hiki. Asante.
Let me wanasoma onyesha hii maki ni ile kama nafanya nini kwa hiyo. Yes, please.
Nashukuru sana kwa kuniona. Mimi naitwa Jennifer Bash. Devota Ikogola ameniongelea, lakini hakujua kama niko nyuma yake. Mimi ndio na manage na plan Alaska Tanzania. Nimeingia ukaya akiwa naongelea challenges. Mmoja wapo akaongelea kuhusu issue ya umeme. Swali langu ni mtu kama ukaya akiongelea challenge yake hapa, yani solution ambayo inatoka hapa ni nini? Au anaongea tu basi tumesikiza challenge yake basi? Yani tujue kwamba akiongelea mpaka anaiongea hapa ni kwamba tatizo lipo na ni kubwa. Na akishaongea tunafunga vitabu, mkutano umeisha na tumeisikia basi, au kuna mchakato ili tujue kwamba kaongea challenge na imefanywa kazi. Nimeongea hivyo sababu na mimi na tatizo hilo na nimeweza kufika mpaka kwa Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Viwanda na Biashara, lakini mpaka leo sijafanikiwa. Issue ya umeme. Na umeme mimi nilipojenga kiwanda, nikaweka mashine, nikafuatilia TANESCO, ni nguzo 3 tu kutoka kwenye kiwanda changu umeme ulipo. Lakini nikaletewa bili ya milioni 23. Naambiwa hii ni ya transformer, inabidi ninunue transformer. Na pia umeme wa pale ni mdogo, inabidi mimi niwekee umeme mkubwa kwa ajili ya mashine. Lakini unapoanza biashara huweki wewe cost za transformer. Transformer sio cost ya biashara. Unapokuja kuletewa bili kama ile ya milioni 23, sielewi unategemea kwamba pesa hizo sisi tunazitoa wapi. Na ili kuencourage viwanda ni serikali iweze kutuwekea mazingira wezeshi. Sisi tujenge, tuanze kazi. Lakini sio mimi niweke kiwanda, niweke mashine afu bado ninunue transformer. Na ukiangalia kuna clause pale chini kwamba this is the property of TANESCO. Why should I pay for the property of TANESCO? It's not the property of Alaska, it's the property of TANESCO. Lakini unakuta umezungushwa, mimi nimemaliza mwezi wa 9. Nikaweka kufuli. Nimeambiwa juzi ndio mheshimiwa kazindua, sio ndio rea ngapi tutaletewa umeme. Bado umekaa mtu nasubiri hiyo rea, mpango wa rea ufanikiwe ili upate umeme. Lakini kuzunguka nimezunguka kote. Na juzi hapa nimepata tenda ya ku-export unga, lakini sijaanza kuzalisha. Ilipofikia hapo na pesa unayokuwa umejengea ndio hiyo mikopo. Mkopo umekaa pale hauzalishi. Nikaamua kwenda kumwomba mtu mwingine mwenye kiwanda kuona lipia yeye chaji zake za umeme pale. Kwa hiyo bidhaa mtaiona pale nje, lakini haizalishi kwenye kiwanda changu. Inazalishwa kwenye kiwanda cha mwingine. Na nilipopata hiyo tenda nikaenda Wizara ya Kilimo kuulizia process zote. Nikaambiwa sasa hivi hatutoi export permit, maana chakula hakitoshi nchini. Nikasema basi nitajuaje kwamba leo hii nimeanza kutoa export permit ili nimjulishe mteja wangu. Nikaambiwa itabidi uwe unapita hapa kuulizia. I was like, really? Hivyo Tanzania viwanda tunayotaka? Mtu unapata tenda unataka kusafirisha, unaambiwa hamna permit, na permit utaijua ukiwa unakuja huku unapita ili ujue kama zimeanza kutoka. Nikamwambia basi naomba hata namba ya simu ili na kufuatilia. Kaambia simu zetu zimeharibika. Hiyo ni Wizara ya Kilimo. Kwa nikaondoka, lakini nilimtafuta waziri nikampa taarifa. Akaniambia kweli hawatoi permit sasa hivi. Wataangalia labda baada ya mwezi. Kwa hapa nimekaa nasubiri baada ya mwezi. Na nikamwambia mteja wangu ngoja tusubiri baada ya mwezi chakula kikipatikana labda ndio tutapata permit ili tuweze kupata hizo tenda za nje. Kwa tukikaa tunaongea tuangalie vingine unaongea na pia you make efforts to follow up ila majibu hamna. Mpaka kuna mtu aliniambia wewe labda usubiri siku ukifanikiwa kwa kuwa karibu na rais andika kimemo umshie. Sasa tutasubiri kupata nafasi hiyo turushe vimemo tuweze kusikilizwa kweli. Yangu ni hayo tu, asante sana.
Profesa Samani hii sema milioni 24 ile moja ilikuwa ya kwangu.
Labda niseme hivi. Sorry. Haya teknolojia bana. Thank you. Sasa wewe mwanaume ndio uko mwenye yani, lakini anyway, nazungumza bwana. Mimi nitakuelezea kina mama.
Nashukuru mwenyekiti. Mimi naitwa Oscar Taimu. Mwenyekiti, samahani kidogo. Nilikuwa naomba uwepo wa katibu mkuu ofisi ya makamu wa rais, upande wa mazingira. Naomba katibu mkuu kwa heshima na taadhima sana. Nafikiri ukiwasiliana na katibu mkuu wa nishati na madini kwa ajili ya kuwezesha hawa wazalishaji wa ndani waweze kunufaika na rasilimali zilizoko hapa, naomba sana kwa heshima na taadhima ili wasaidie. La pili, meneja wa ukaya na kupongeza sana kwa huo ujaribu kuwa na kiwanda na kuzalisha katika mazingira magumu sana kama ulivyoeleza. Ulisema kuna tatizo la mvua. Sasa sijui mhogo, sijui kama unawezekana kukaa na umwagiliaji, sijui unafanyaje meneja wa ukaya. Nashukuru mwenyekiti, hayo machache sana.
Asante. Labda ni able to wewe 15 minutes ago. Na najua hapa ndani there are some who are teachers and they are very fond of giving marks. Watanipa mimi sijui marks gani au please don't give me some marks for moderation. Marke sasa nataka tumalize unless management iseme vingine. Lakini pamoja na hayo ningeomba mwishoni, yani hao baada ya kujibu mzungumze kidogo. Yeah, kwa sababu kuna mambo mengine ya what next. Sasa tuanze na Ibrahim. Maana wewe umepata maswali mengi sana au comments ni please.
Okay. Well, the first question was Mr. Oswald, which mechanisms are used?
Kutumia muda vizuri. You can yani unaweza ukachagua yale ambayo unafikiri kwa maana yake muda hautotoka. Alafu wengine watakufuata wakati wa lunch.
Just which mechanism are we using to talk to the government? Now, you asked the question, Mr. Oswald. We've talked to many people in the government. I don't know, my business colleague can attest to this, because at the end of the day, unaenda kuongea na TANESCO, anakwambia subiri, ngojea mwezi miwili mitatu. Now, REA is taking the plane. They're telling us now is July, August. We are sitting on orders here. Okay? We're sitting on orders not less than 15 tons per month. And that's just basically, we're underproducing as we speak. Yeah? Now, we don't have time. Once you understand how to, when people understand how, when you start running a company, when you start running a production facility, you don't have the time to go to offices and beg for electricity. You just simply don't. You see, get the point? You don't have the time. We have enough challenges it is, workers, thefts, the list goes on. Now, what we've decided is that we're not going to TANESCO anymore. We are talking to two organizations, I'm not going to say names. We are looking for grants, and when we do get grants, we're going to buy our own transformer, and we'll set up our own electricity infrastructure. That's what we're going to do, because there's no way to wait until August, September, July, August, September. Hatuwezi. Mbaga asked the question, okay, why are we planning to utilize the market? We have so much, we have the land, we have the market, whatnot. I think as Tanzanians, to be honest with you, we need to up our game. That's the mentality. We have, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I've been lucky that I've traveled many countries, but we're very slow. Something that can take 1 week, take 6 months. And I said, what is going on? So you need to make a few words. What is going on? The speed of action is so slow. Action is so slow, Tanzanians. Maybe kwa kweli nampongeza sana rais wetu Magufuli. This guy makes things happen. He makes decisions. If we were like him, kwa kweli sisi hapa tungeenda mbali sana, Tanzanians. We're very slow. So that's the reason why I think speed is a challenge. Okay, abundance of water, there's so many questions. But abundance of water, somebody said that's why did I say it's a challenge, but it's also it's a challenge, and also how come I say that is a strength? We have water, but our farmers surrounding us don't have water. We have the capacity to water our cassava, but our farmers don't. And we cannot rely on our own cassava. You see, it's not enough. You see, as you know, cassava, this is how it works. It's 4 to 1. Basically, if you have 4 tons, on a good day, if you have 4 tons of raw cassava, you get 1 ton of flour. We don't have the capacity. Now, this is a problem because when it doesn't rain for a long time, the ratio goes to even 8 to 1, which means that 8 tons of cassava, you get 1 ton of flour. I hope I answered your question. Now, another thing here, I'm talking TBS. TBS, we've gone back and forth to TBS. We're still working with TBS to get this approved, but same thing. It's just a challenge. I don't know what is going on. Natural gas. Now, we have a problem with how can I say, with electricity. How can we go to natural gas? How much money is that needed? That's really, I'm sorry. I think that's the point that I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. Production. Why is there production problems? Now, it's how can I say, it's losing or how can I say, losing production is normal in an organization. It's just normal to make losses, but the question is your margin of losses. How much does it eat into your profit margin as a percentage? So that's what you have to look at. Now, it's not like we don't have a good production system, no. We are relying on a generator, which tunaonea kwa tunabembeleza, is overproducing the capacity. You see, so I hope that answers that. VECO, no, I have not heard of VECO. That must have been before my time. I've only started working with the farm 8 months ago, so maybe that's a long time ago. Access to finance, you asked the question, that's the cash flow. Cash flow is actually cash flow. We have challenges with cash flow. Obviously, that means we have challenges with access to finance, which we are talking to organizations. I cannot say which ones, but one of them in the latter stage. So hopefully the things will go well. Okay. There's another one, the gentleman behind there asked the question, individual, farmers, how do we said that we have a network of over 200 farmers. Yes, we've given them in the past cassava cuttings for them to grow their own cassava. This is how one way we have a relationship with them. We also have a database of a few of them, not all of them. I think around 60-70 of the database, we have their database. But also what we do when we have a big order, we put advertisements, and we put advertisements in the local villages where they can call us. Yeah. We have a center as well in Mtawanya, where they know that this is the place where they can bring their cassava. You asked about the signature of any legal signature. We've signed memorandums of understandings with 2 organizations. Now we've stopped production at the moment because we simply don't have that capacity at the moment to produce. So we said, okay, let's not play around, because if you're producing 3 times, 4 times, in agriculture it's very small. You're looking at 10 going up. If you're anything below 10, you're really just paying salaries. You're not really. So what we said, okay, let us try and get these funds. I think that's pretty it.
Let me give to thank you very much. The first issue that was raised was concerning slide number 3, and that was on the framework of documents. I was asking why CDIP was put above Tanzania Vision 2025, I think. And it was meant to imply that CDIP came first, and then Vision came later within the framework, in that sense. Then the other issue that was raised is about development is for people, and the policy development process is not coherent, implementation is missing. If there was nothing being implemented, we couldn't be here. We cannot survive for previous years' performance unless you extra produced. So, what we should discuss is whether it is happening the way we want or not satisfactory. Actually, there are challenges, but a lot of things is happening. I said in 1996, for example, we had sustainable industrial development policy. The government is no longer investing in productive entities, and the private sector is catching up. You should remember that we moved from socialism, where we were so much dependent on the government, on the central decision making, and we need to cultivate a culture of realizing that now that system is no longer there. So it should take maybe a kind of generation, not the same generation of people. There is another issue, one of them, issue I would like to touch, what type of industries are we going for? The type of industries we can discuss in terms of capital intensive or labor intensive. For that matter, we prefer labor intensive industries because our goal is to create massive employment for our people. Again, we can classify industries based on intensity of technology utilization, where we have heavy industries, light industries, and low-level technologies. For that matter, we prefer light industries because that is feasible within our country, and the heavy industries could spend a lot of capital to invest in. So we have few priorities for capital intensive industries like Chichuma and Luganga, and they are taking so many years to implement. And if you see the statistics, in recent years, economists are saying that Tanzania is one of the best in Africa, well-growing, well-performing countries in the economies. And you can see the gap between agriculture and the industry. Contribution to GDP is also expanding, meaning agriculture is losing some part. It used to contribute 80% of employment. Now, one presenter said it is now 69% today. That it means the other portion has been taken by other sectors. And what direction we are moving towards zoning our country? Actually, we zone our country naturally based on what we call comparative advantages of the zones. So we have different corridors, we call corridors, southern corridor, and in the eastern side we have the benefit of the ocean, in the ocean. So there is a benefit of having ports because of that ocean, because of that location. And in the southern highlands, we have 5 regions who are the best producers of crops. So we can call it agricultural corridor. That is a kind of zoning, etc., etc. I should end up here unless someone wants to comment.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for all your fruitful comments and inputs. One of the things is this presentation or the report is it's a tool that will be used in the next stage that we are proceeding, which is policy advocacy. So to those who have been asking, so what next after this launch, we are going to embark on a policy advocacy. And in the later afternoon session, after the presentations, one of the things that I'll implore upon you or request upon you is how do we go from here? That is, the lady you asked the process approach. So we want to, all of us to come up with one holistic approach that we think we can embark on so as to promote agro-industrial development. So this project basically aims to actually influence policy. So we want to influence policy. We don't say we promise that we are going to build a factory, we are going to provide electricity to someone, but we want, like for example, TAMISEMI, we want it now. How do these actors work together? How do we now help the government achieve the ultimate goal of having an industrialized economy? So this project wants to contribute to that, and we are going. All of us are going to actually come to an agreement or tell us more on how do you think we should approach this. So these are things that I'll explain it later on how exactly we're going to do it. And there was one question also which was raised on the issues of insurance. I think this is also a very important aspect. There was a recent study that we undertook with WFP. So they've also introduced, it was like a program, it's almost coming to an end. So they've introduced insurance schemes to farmers on their agricultural produce, and especially on maize. But I think they're doing it on a trial basis, trying to see to what extent that really has an impact on yields, because you can have that scheme, but at the same time it may not work. Maybe that's not what they really want. Maybe they just want inputs. Maybe they, so there are a lot of factors. Of course, yes, one of the most important things in climate change adaptation is climate change. The insurance schemes. So these are also some of the things which we can also discuss on it further. Yes, we did not talk of it much on the study, but these are things that we also have. We can also try and talk more of it as we move further on our project. Well, on issues of linking these policies, I think Dr. Mashinano can also talk more on it, like on what should be the best way, for example, for a person like Ukaya to be assisted. So I won't talk much on it. Yes, there was an issue of byproducts, capacity building and awareness creation. I would like to bring this point again. Under this project, we also have a capacity building component where we undertake trainings. So there will be training sessions later on. So one of the things is we come up with topics that we think we can build capacities, and because during this phase now we're looking into agroprocessing. So maybe as one of the speakers proposed, utilization of byproducts. This is something that most of the people are not aware of. Sitting here, these two colleagues, the gentleman was asked, well, what do you use after having byproducts of your cassava? What else? So he says he throws away. But the lady next to me says he wants to use the byproducts to feed his pigs. So you see, these are two different opinions, which now if we can build capacities and everyone can understand, like maybe you don't need to waste everything that you produce, that everything that you produce can be utilized. So that is something that will be also used further. Just trying to wind up. There was a comment from TDB on issues of crop insurance, missing link. Yes, also that's something which we can. We would like it to be part of our policy advocacy. So we'll try to see how we can package. We need to package a message that we can now go and advocate it further. Which issues do you think, like if we stand in front of the Ministry of Industry and we'll tell them A, B, C, D will help you attain your ultimate goal. So yeah. Now lastly, pole sana kwa Alaska for all the troubles that you've incurred. We're also now currently undertaking an impact assessment on export permit. This is a very big problem that we've seen. Not only you, big companies like Mohammed Enterprise, they've actually, okay, this is there are big companies which have incurred huge losses. Some have had to pay customers back their money. They had to refund back money because customers from abroad were supposed to already receive consignments, but So these are things that we're also doing now. This is a different study, but we're trying to engage with the government to propose to them to come up with more realistic and more open schemes for the public to understand, like issues of export permit. To what extent can these be made more public, and which commodities need to be imposed export permit? Should we impose export permit to coffee, or we should impose on maize? Which commodities are food security sensitive? Those are the discussions that are ongoing.